They've been called the most famous demonologists in history. Ed and Lorraine Warren weren't just ghost hunters, they were storytellers, investigators, and for some, protectors of the Catholic Church's battle against evil. But here's the unsettling question. Did they exaggerate, manipulate, or even outright lie to keep the Church's narrative of demons and possession alive? I'm diving into chilling cases, lawsuits, contradictions, and the hidden ties between the Warrens and the Church. Details most people have never heard about. The Warrens Catholic Foundation. Now, Ed and Lorraine Warren were devout Catholics. They married in 1945, and in January of 1946, Lorraine gave birth to their daughter, Judy. Ed often said, without faith, you leave yourself open to the forces of darkness. For them, being Catholic wasn't just a belief system, it was the weapon. The crucifix, holy water, prayers of Saint Michael, all these symbols became the core of their work. Now, they claim that those who lacked faith were the most vulnerable to possession. Critics say this belief turned every case into the same Catholic morality tale. Evil is real, demons prey on the faithless, and salvation lies within the Church. But here's the question. Were they reporting what they truly found, or were they amplifying Church doctrine disguised as ghost stories? Let's talk about the Snedeker Case. Now, this is the haunting in Connecticut. Red liquid on the walls, shadow figures in bedrooms, a boy levitating in the middle of the night. That's what the Snedeker family claimed after moving into a former funeral home in Connecticut. The Warrens came in and declared it one of the darkest hauntings they'd basically ever seen. Lorraine said she could feel a presence so heavy she said she wouldn't be able to breathe and was going to pass out. But Ray Garden, the author hired to write their story, later dropped a bombshell. He said, the family couldn't keep their story straight. When I went to Ed and Lorraine, Ed told me, just make it up and we'll fix it later. Even more disturbing, one of the family members later filed a lawsuit claiming their lives had been twisted into lies for money. Critics argue this wasn't just about a haunting, it was about reinforcing the Church's battle against demonic evil, no matter what the facts were. The Amityville Horror. Now, this is truth or propaganda. The Amityville Horror, now a house soaked in gore and terror after Ronald DeFeo Jr. slayed his family there in 1974, George and Kathy Lutz moved in, only to flee about 28 days later after alleged demonic torment, claiming the house was haunted by terrifying supernatural events. The Warrens arrived and immediately proclaimed it genuine. Lorraine later recalled saying, as soon as I entered that home, I was overwhelmed. There was a darkness, a presence that was not human. But lawyer William Weber, who worked with the Lutzes, admitted during an interview saying, we created this horror story over many bottles of wine. Now, if that's true, the Amityville haunting was less about demons and more about dollars. Yet the Warrens clung to it, using Amityville as proof that the Catholic worldview of demonic infestation was real. And it should be mentioned also that allegedly subsequent owners of the house have actually never reported experiencing any paranormal activity. So whoever moved in after said nothing happened. Now, despite the evidence of a hoax, the story was marketed with taglines like based on real events, based on a true story, of course to attract a wider audience. Now, the extensive series of books and films further brought on this fictional narrative, often without clear continuity or factual accuracy. But I don't know, what do you guys think though? Let's talk about the claims of Vatican approval. Now, Ed often suggested their work was known and recognized by the Vatican. He once said, we've had direct communication with the Vatican. Our cases have been studied at the highest level. But Church authorities are clear. Exorcisms can only be performed with the explicit approval of a bishop, and no evidence actually exists that the Warrens had this kind of sanction. Now, skeptical journalist Benjamin Radford wrote, there's no credible record of Vatican endorsement. What the Warrens had were vague associations with individual priests, nothing more. In other words, the Vatican may never have known who the Warrens even were. Yet the illusion of approval helps cement their authority, reinforce the Church's grip on the narrative of good versus evil. Now, the Vatican, through Pope Francis, has affirmed the reality of demonic possession and the role of, exorcism as a necessary form of spiritual aid, while also urging those scientific and medical evaluations for potential possession cases. Now, in 2025, the Vatican officially approved the statutes for the International Association of Exorcists, providing structured training and emphasizing collaboration with medical professionals to ensure discernment and, competence in identifying and addressing possession. So yes, there is affirmation of the devil within the Catholic Church. The Church teaches, that demons are real and that the devil seeks to destroy souls, a belief that informs the Church's approach to exorcism. But yes, it's also true that only a priest with the bishop's specific and, express permission may lawfully perform an exorcism. So all in all, there was no formal official, Vatican connection for Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Catholic Church never officially endorsed them as representatives, and they were not official exorcists. So while they were devout Catholics who worked within, the faith, a major connection occurred when the Warrens were unable to resolve the Smurl Haunting and requested assistance from Cardinal Ratzinger, who then forwarded the case. And on the topic of the Smurl family, let's talk about the Smurl Haunting, a demon in the walls. Now, the Smurl family of Pennsylvania lived in terror for 15 very long years. They claimed foul odors filled their home, scratches appeared on their bodies, and they were attacked by an unseen force. Now, Lorraine described the entity as a powerful demon that moved through the house like a shadow. It was not human, it was a beast. Now, the Warrens declared it one of the worst cases they had ever seen, but neighbors contradicted this story. One priest who blessed the home said he found no sign of supernatural activity at all. Even the Catholic Church hesitated to recognize the case officially. Critics believe the Warrens pushed the demonic angle because it fit the narrative. Another family under attack, another Catholic tale of evil, another reminder that faith is the only protection. Let's talk about ethical concerns, storytelling over truth. Now, over the years, multiple collaborators accused the Warrens of prioritizing storytelling over accuracy. Now, Ray Garton wasn't the only one. A journalist who looked into their files said, "What I found were contradictions, embellishments, and a lot of stories that couldn't be verified. But what you always saw was the same message, demons are real and the church can save you." Critics argue that even if the Warrens weren't consciously lying for the Catholic Church, their work functioned as propaganda, recycling the same Catholic themes over and over again, regardless of what the evidence actually showed. And there was also a lot of criticism from within the church. Ironically, not all Catholic authorities were impressed. Some priests openly accused the Warrens of harming the church by making it look, superstitious. Now, one priest reportedly said they sensationalized, they turned spiritual warfare into theater. This actually put the Warrens in a very strange position, claiming Catholic ties that the church itself often downplayed. Yet for the public, the image stuck. Ed and Lorraine Warren, champions of Catholic truth, battling demons alongside the church. So, did Ed and Lorraine Warren lie to protect the Catholic Church? What's known is this: they were lifelong Catholics. They framed nearly every case in Catholic terms. They invoked the Vatican without proof, and they encouraged embellishment when stories didn't hold up. What's alleged? Well, that they deliberately twisted events to promote Catholic theology, that they used fiction to reinforce the church's supernatural framework. What isn't supported is that there's no direct evidence the church ordered or instructed them to do so. More likely, the Warrens were true believers who kind of blurred the line between fact, faith, and fiction. Sometimes to protect their religion, sometimes to protect their wallets. Ed once said himself, "I don't care if people believe me, I know the devil is real, and I know the church is the only power that fight him." That statement may hold the key. The Warrens weren't just hunting ghosts, they were preaching a message that said without the Catholic Church, humanity is helpless against the dark. So whether they lied, exaggerated, or sincerely believed, their stories always ended the same way. Demons are real, faith is the shield, and the Catholic Church is the savior. The haunting truth is this: maybe they didn't need to protect the church, maybe the church protected them. What do you guys think though? Grifters or gifted? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Ashley. I'll see you in the next one. What you're about to hear isn't just ghost stories, and it isn't just Hollywood jump scares. These are documented cases of people claiming to encounter something darker, something demonic. These are the most chilling demonic cases ever caught in some form of uncut recording or documentation. Each one is disturbing, mysterious, and refuses to be explained away. Let's dive in. The Demon House, the LaToya Ammons case. A child was filmed walking backwards up a hospital wall, flipping over and landing on his feet. That was the moment a team of social workers and nurses stopped laughing at the Ammons family's claims and started calling in priests. In 2011, LaToya Ammons moved into a small rental home in Gary, Indiana, with her mother and 3 kids. From the start, things felt very wrong. Black flies swarmed their porch in the still of winter. Shadows moved across the walls at night. Then it escalated. Loud footsteps, disembodied voices, and strange oil-like substances dripping from blinds and doors.